Furst with Furst. Hello, this is Jerry Furst with Furst on the Markets, and we are going to talk about a Broken Wing Condor trade on Chipotle Mexican Grill as we have earnings coming out after the bell today, October 17th, 2013. This is my trading log. Please go ahead and pause and read this. Basically, it all says this is strictly for educational purposes only, and by the time you see this, all trades are now moving in motion, so anything that you would see here anyway would no longer be the same. So this is strictly for educational purposes. So here's Chipotle Mexican Grill. Today we are up $3.79, trading at $441.86 at 1:16 p.m. We will be having earnings after the bell. Now, this is on the Thinkorswim trading platform. They have what's called the market maker expected move. They're expecting plus or minus $26 when the earnings come out. And notice the implied volatility here for 1 day left on the October. These options for October will be expiring tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Today is Thursday. The implied volatility is 107% right now, and it is expected to drop at least 50% by the end of by tomorrow morning. 50% of that will come out, and by the end of the day, another 10%. So we should be getting back into the normal range of about 40% on average, 32% for the implied volatility is the normal range, and we'll get back to the volatility charts in a minute. So this trade has already been legged into. Yesterday there was a vertical trade put on where the 405 put was sold and the 400 put bought, and then today another 5 contracts sold on the 405 put and 395 was bought. Then on the call side, we've sold the 485 call and bought the 495. So let's take a look at this in a little bit more depth. You can see here the fills from yesterday. Here, got a fill. We sold for $4.07, the 405 put, and bought the 400 for $3.27. Today we sold for $2.53, the 405 put, and bought the 395 for protection. On the call side, we are buying the 485 call, and I'm sorry, we're selling the 485 call and buying the 495. And you can see if we have an expected market maker move of 26 points, we're well outside that range. And let's take another look at the chart on Chipotle Mexican Grill. This is a 10-minute chart over here, and you can see that just in the last few days we've gone already from 433 to 441. So we're already in the last 2 days about 12 points into the move. Looking at the daily chart, it's beautiful. Just from the lower left to upper right, beautiful, beautiful trend channel right here. On the weekly chart, double top. Now we have to be careful a little bit because double tops can be resistance levels, as we see right here at 441. We're right there. And this is the importance of looking at multiple time frames. If you're only looking at the minute-by-minute chart or the daily chart, you may have missed the fact that we are at a double top, all-time highs. So, so the concept is we have a Fibonacci extension of 123.6, which is right at about 493. And so that can be problematic if we really have a huge spike and the Fibonacci's end up being a super magnet. I would expect that even if that did happen with some type of outrageously good news, that probably it would spike to that in the morning or the after pre-market, and then fade from there. So I would say that if we were to hit this 123.6 at about 493, I would fade that. So let's go ahead and take a look. Currently small profits on the trade, and this is OptionVue Software. And what I want to show you is this is what's called the matrix, and here you can see I can configure this 3x3 grid any way I want. These are the calls above this thick line here, and these are the puts. You can see that I've bought 10. This is my existing position. I have bought 10 of the 495 calls, and I have sold 10 of the 485 calls. Now, on the put side, I have sold 10 of the 405 puts. I have bought 5 of the 400 puts and bought 5 of the 395 puts. Now, here's OptionVue. To me, it's just a great platform that's been built. It's version 7 already now. The interface is just very, very well done over years and years of improvements. They have something here called the probability calculator. And so right here, current price being at 441, with future volatility dropping down to possibly 28 after the news tomorrow, which comes out tonight. So in other words, tomorrow's open, we could get the volatility crush, saying that on October 18th, we're saying that the first and second standard deviations, second and third standard deviations, okay, are at these targets. Notice I put a first target of 485, my high target, that's where my strikes are, and my low target of 405. It says that the probability of finishing below the lowest target is 0. The probability of finishing above the highest target is 0. Now also take a look at this. I can change the implied volatility. This is expecting a volatility crush to come back down to 30% for the aggregate total options, not on the individual strikes. But when I hit this PT, probability of touching, notice on this matrix grid, probability of touching is over here. Notice I have 0%. 0% of touching 495. If you take a look at the weekly that expires next Friday, you'll see there's a 1% chance of hitting 495. If we go out 16 days, there's a 4% chance of hitting it. Now, let's just move forward and let's talk about the implied volatility for a moment. Currently, the implied volatility is 34.9 for the aggregate total of the options. And you can see previous times around earnings where we've had this huge drop. And the average range is about the 25%. After earnings comes out and you have the volatility crush, you're going to be somewhere within this range, probably around 25. So we're at 35. And notice over here, they're giving you the percentile ranking of the implied volatility and the statistical volatility. The 63 means that 37% of the time, the volatility has been higher, which means that this is pretty high. This is anytime you're over 30, 40, 50, that means that the implied volatility is high. You can just tell by looking at the chart there's been quite a few spikes around earnings and other events that have spiked the volatility. Current implied volatility is currently reaching its peak. It's at a 62% implied volatility percentile ranking, meaning that only 37% of the time within this time frame has it been higher. we're expecting a drop of implied volatility. That means that the options that have been bought or sold will be losing value tomorrow when the markets open, because Chipotle Mexican Grill is having earnings after the bell today, Thursday, October 17th, 2013. So let's take a closer look at this calculator. So what does this look like on a risk-reward graph? Okay, tomorrow, October 18th, at the open, we're going to have a time decay line here. If basically Chipotle Mexican Grill stays at about the same price, we're almost at the maximum profit level of about $1,100. This trade is using 8,500 in maintenance requirements. However, the profit and loss, if we were to really drop down to 403, we're risking about $2,000. And if we were to really spike up to $490, we're talking about a $4,000 loss. What are the odds of that? Look at this. This blue bar here is the first standard deviation. This bar over here is the second standard deviation. We're talking third, fourth, fifth standard deviations. Okay, so this is an interesting condor. Notice it's a little bit of a broken wing because I legged into it and I have different strikes on the put side. So we have a little bit of a broken wing condor. Now at expiration, we're looking at pulling in $1,500. So of course what I'll be doing is watching this closely at the close tomorrow, unless if it just looks like it makes sense to close the trade out and get on with my weekend early. Modeled at today plus 1. So again, this has been Jerry Furst with Furst on the Markets, going over my earnings trade on Chipotle Mexican Grill, October 17, 2013. And if you want to contact me, jerrybfurst@ienweb.com, investorseducationnetwork.com, traderseducationnetwork.com for coaching and mentoring, and also live meetings in South Florida. Soon to be on the web. Stay tuned. All right, everybody. Good trading.